Behold the castle that inspired countless films made by the Walt Disney Company. Walt Disney himself saw this castle and was in utter awe by its beauty. This is a living fairy tale, quite literally, because the man who built this castle was obsessed with fairy tales. A lot of these tales were told by the great operist Wagner. And he built this in order to live in isolation, away from all his kingly duties, all, in essence, the advisors, servants. He wanted to live away from everything, away from civilization, in his own castle upon the mountains of Bavaria. I'm Ariel, this is Urbanist. Right now I'm going to show you Neuschwanstein. It's quite a mouthful. It's located in the mountains of Bavaria. I think it's about like a 2-hour-ish drive away from Munich or so. I got here via an organized day trip. It's awesome. And I am so hyped to see this. I'm going to show you from this point of view, and hopefully a little bit later, I'll go a little bit towards the castle proper, and hopefully there's some strong service over there. But behold, this castle, Neuschwanstein. And this literally inspired and many Disney films like Cinderella, Bambi, Snow White, many others. You might, even the Disney logo, slightly inspired by this as well. And we are seeing the Bavarian landscape right now. But who was this king? Well, for that we have to go back to the mid-1800s. So I hope you're enjoying the gorgeous views that we see up here. This right here was the family of King Maximilian of Bavaria. He held a very long dynasty in this region of Europe for more than 700 years. On the very left, we have a very eccentric young man by the name of Ludwig. He would later be known as the Mad King. But was he truly mad? Well, on his right, the truly mad member of this family was his brother Otto, 3 years his junior. He would die at a very old age, institutionalized, close to Munich. But King Ludwig, on the left, would later become known as the Mad King, known for building such eccentric structures like Neuschwanstein, as we see right over here. He ended up becoming king very young, around the age of 20, in his 20s. No, a little bit earlier than that, actually. King Ludwig was not interested in the military, in hunting, in beer. He did not drink beer. He preferred wine and he preferred champagne, which was weird for a German. He wasn't interested in agriculture. He wasn't interested in governance. He wasn't interested in doing anything that would later be his main kingly duties. He was more interested in the arts, in music, opera, and also fairy tales. And later on, he would develop a very strong infatuation with science and engineering. But the thing is, with his infatuation with science and engineering, he did not use it to build massive railroad networks in Germany, but instead to build this castle, Neuschwanstein, which later opened up in 1889. And this was completed shortly after his death. So let me show you the views right up here. So right here we're seeing the Bavarian mountains. We're about 3,000 feet high. And we can see the water right down there. Yes. We're on a bridge right now. It's pretty packed. There's a shuttle bus that takes you right up here. There's a pretty steep drop, but luckily this is a steel bridge also made by King Ludwig II. King Ludwig II was actually a huge patron of the famous composer and the man who wrote so many countless operas and tales, Wagner, or Wagner, if you want to pronounce it more in English. And this man was the main inspiration for King Ludwig to build this castle. He used a lot of the elements of his tales in order to inform how this castle was designed, both the exterior that we're seeing right here and also the interior. Wagner was in immense debt, and he was close to really ending his career before he wrote many of his masterpieces, what later would be known as his masterpieces. But King Ludwig came to the rescue, and he became a patron of his for many, many, many years. I am just astonished by how gorgeous this is. Hey, Susie says he looks a little bit like John Wayne. Yeah, he does. Now, the construction was an immense undertaking. The thing is, they had to actually blow up the top of this mountain with dynamite. And dynamite was a fairly new technology at that time. Also, he had to build a railroad nearby in order to start bringing a lot of these materials. Because if you can tell, the stone does not match the rock right below. Usually when they build castles, they use the rock of the same mountain that they're building the castle by. But in this case, that rock comes from a bit further away. So it was a huge endeavor to bring this either by river or by railroad. He was an immense perfectionist, so he would be painstakingly micromanaging every single craftsman and engineer and designer, interior designer involved in this entire project. They thought he was a pain in the ass, in essence. So this took a very long while. And Spencer says, I could hear the Ride of the Valkyries. Yep, that is basically, I think, his most famous piece, used in the film Apocalypse Now. And of course, used also by that terrible party that ended up taking control of Germany, the National Socialists. They were also obsessed with Wagner. Here's a painting of how it looked like when it was initially built. And here's a sample of the interiors. Let's pop up a few photos so you can see them. So these are a sample of the interiors, all based on fairy tales and legends of Germany. So I'm going to the castle very soon at 3:10. I'm so super hyped to go inside. How I walk there is a bit weird. I'm not sure how I'll exactly get there. We'll find out. I'll show you a little bit more of the forest. Let me pop in over here. Gigi says, no words, it's stunning. Yeah, it is stunning. It's done in this like neo-medieval style. So obviously he's not medieval. It's a very highly stylized version of medieval. Walt Disney ended up coming here, being in utter awe of the structure. It was a huge, massive tourist attraction since it was opened shortly after the death of King Ludwig. And it is freezing up here. Hey, Michelle says, tuning in from Cornwall. Hey, Michelle from Cornwall. Thank you so much for tuning in again. She says, I would love to see you do a philosophical chat inside the Neuschwanstein castle. I wish I had enough time or the ability to film inside. I might be able to film the exterior of the castle a little bit later. Ludo says, watch out for foxes. Ooh, there's foxes here? That's awesome. Let's check out the little small town that's right there. Just stunning. Look at that. Just even the views from up here are magnificent. So as I mentioned, this was featured in like Snow White, Cinderella, Bambi, the Walt Disney logo, the Walt Disney Castle in the theme parks has a similar look to this. Tangled, in essence, is kind of Neuschwanstein Castle in some regards. Christine asks, have I gone by bus tour? Yeah, I went on the bus tour. Highly recommend it. It's wonderful. From Munich. It cost about $170, but it was worth it. I'm loving it so far. So, was King Ludwig actually insane? Let me show you another photo of him right over here. Well, the thing is with King Ludwig, he was definitely eccentric, and he tried to get engaged to a first cousin of his. However, he broke off the engagement last minute, and the man never ended up getting married in his entire life. Some people think he might have been gay, homosexual, or some people might think he was more asexual. No one knows for sure, and there's no evidence that he ever really had a relationship with another man either. So he lived in isolation. He wanted to live in his own castle in Lindenhof, which was a castle I visited right before this one. And he did not want any contact with any of his servants, any of his advisors, anyone in government. He wanted to just be on his own. Initially, when he took control after his father died suddenly when he was young, he tried to turn around the country of Bavaria, or the region of Bavaria, in order to become more technologically savvy. Because this was in the mid-1800s, a lot of industrial revolutions were happening. Electricity was right around the corner, but his government really didn't want to. At his time, it was a constitutional monarchy, similar to what England to the UK is today. So, after trying his best to do what he knows best, which is science, tech, arts, he gave up. And he left to places like these. Neuschwanstein, Lindenhof, which was another castle. Let me show you the photo. And I'll post a video of it soon. So that was right there. That's a photo I did by mistake, but that was Lindenhof right over there. I might be able to film inside. I am not too optimistic, but hopefully I can film like from one of the balcony areas, crossing fingers. So that's why I'm lingering here. I gotta go soon, head over to the castle. So let me know right now in the comments if you want to see any other details right up here before I go over, I walk over to the castle. I'll be going live. I'll be live in this video as we walk over there through the woods. So speak now or forever hold your peace. I'll show you a little bit more of the views. So someone mentioned how did he die? Well, as I mentioned, he started getting the nickname the Mad King because he didn't marry. He started spending millions of marks at that time in order to build this castle and his other palace. He was obsessed with French royalty, obsessed more with King Louis than his own Bavarian forefathers. He didn't drink beer, he drank champagne. The king was supposed to start Oktoberfest and other beer festivals. He never showed up. He lived in isolation. He didn't see his servants. He didn't see his advisors. People thought he was just mad. And that's what the government ended up using to their power. They thought, we can't let this man go any further because he'll bankrupt our nation and lead it to a terrible downfall. That could have been the case because we were spending too much money building this. He wanted to build an even bigger castle after this. So They got the psychiatrist, like the head psychiatrist in the country of Bavaria and Munich itself, who was actually taking care of his brother Otto, and he ended up making a diagnosis that Ludwig was also insane. He never actually saw Ludwig in person in order to make this assessment, but they used that to take Ludwig out from his quarters late at night, transport him to another place near Munich, and hold him basically in prison, institutionalized, so the government can take control and he could be deposed of as king. He would be allowed every night to walk along the lake, which he enjoyed, with his doctor, the one who declared him insane. As he was walking one of these nights with his doctor, it took him about 2 hours. Every night they would come back. But one of those nights, they didn't come back. They found Ludwig floating on this lake. The thing is, this lake was only knee deep. Ludwig was about 6'3", very tall. And he was apparently a very good swimmer. He loved the water. So how did he drown? What happened to the doctor? Well, the doctor who was accompanying him on these walks was found with a gash on his head, also dead. So it's quite a mystery what happened there. No one knows for sure. Did Ludwig try to kill the doctor and run away? Or did Ludwig kill the doctor and commit suicide? Or was it the doctor that tried to kill Ludwig, or did kill Ludwig, and then later him committed suicide? Or was there some type of scuffle and fight, and somehow both of them died? Who knows? He never got to see this construction finished. Shortly after this was finished in 1889, it became a tourist attraction. And then, since then, has brought many more millions, times many more millions, than it ever took to build. And to this day, King Ludwig, apparently from what I've learned, is seen as a positive force, or people admire him here in Bavaria. There's a lot of tributes to him, and people really admire this castle. So let me show you a little bit more around, then I'm going to start walking. I'm freezing. I should have bought a jacket. Whew. Oh, so cold. Crazy. Willie says, this is beautiful, but when are you coming back to New York? Wait, there are bigger castles than that, says Adam? In general, yes. But Ludwig wanted to build one bigger. He did not get to have the chance to do that. He was deposed of before that happened, and potentially assassinated. All the stuff.
Me too.
The bridge, the actual wood of the bridge is porous and is kind of bending, which is interesting. Sorry.
That's okay.
Which is bending, which is fascinating. Hey, Isabel says, was this castle used in Shitty Shitty Bang Bang? Oh, I'm not sure. I'm sure there's countless movies that were inspired by it. So Shitty Shitty Bang Bang is a live action film, so maybe? Do let me know. So Leia says, maybe he was autistic. Yes, okay, so that's what I was getting to in the story. So yeah, a lot of people think he's more so autistic than quite mad.
I'm about to run off.
Okay.
Quickly.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the forest of Bavaria. Ron says, how much to get in? The entire tour up here, that's the only thing you really have to pay for in the shuttle, because otherwise €3 per person. They are from the region right next to Bavaria, but in essence, they're very similar. Now, if you haven't seen the film, I recommend after this or later today. Gilliam, who directed, I think it was directed by him, Terry Gilliam, and he was also a member of Monty Python, also directed Monty.
Là, je pense que ça descend pas mal ici, hein, si on descend par là. Hein. C'est assez raide, hein.
So right here is the shuttle. The shuttle takes you down, which will uphill, get to either the castle or this bridge. Now, hey, let me know if you see me and hear me. The service is pretty bad, but the film I mentioned is called The Brothers Grimm. Grimm with 2 M's. Same name as the real life brothers who wrote all of those famous fairy tales, including Red Riding Hood as well. There's barbed wire here. Pro tip, if you're coming here in May, bring a jacket. I made the mistake of, I'm wearing a light jacket, but I should have brought my puffer, which I did not. I didn't think it would be that cold, but it is. Michelle says it reminds you of Switzerland. Gigi says the signal's now stable. Mark says this is fascinating. Yeah. So let me know what you think what happened to King Ludwig. Other nicknames he had was the Swan King, because Swan Lake was one of the pieces written by Wagner. And then there was also the Fairy Tale King, because he was obsessed with fairy tales. And also the Mad King. Gigi says this reminds you of Montenegro. Oh, cool. Isabel says it's about 54 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, but it feels chillier up here. So yeah, it's because of the humidity. It's pretty humid here, and it's no wonder because Bavaria is very, very green. Rosalba, welcome to the live video, says you're visiting one of the favorite castles. I've been there. Greetings from Tennessee. I'm so happy. Oh my God, look at these views. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone who's tuning in, this deserves some music. Let's go. So beautiful Bavaria. Look how gorgeous this is. Right there in the distance, we actually see a yellowish castle. That's the castle of his father. And I'm not sure how many generations before, but definitely his father was there. So Ludwig, from a very young age, was already used to this particular corner of Bavaria. And I'm not sure if you can visit that castle. I'm under the impression that you can. The song was All Is Known from the Afterworld album.
Power plants to produce electricity, yeah? Yeah? So Ursula Krupp, slowly you have to go, please, yeah? Slowly, yeah?
Wow, schön, schaut mal. Voll schön. Irgendwie sieht hier so angestimmt aus. Ja.
So my tour guide is right down there wearing the scarf.
Yeah? But later you will see it's long stretched on the rock. And on top of the roof you can see a knight, the statue of a knight. And this was the very first Wittelsbacher, you know, 1180 Otto. Yeah? Ludwig wanted to demonstrate my family's line has this long line going back, yeah, you see. And please count the floors. You can count 5 floors. Ludwig was living only in 2 floors. He had only 24 rooms. He was living in the 2 floors with the balconies. You are coming to the balcony after your tour. Don't forget it, yeah? The first balcony. And 1 floor of these 5 floors is dedicated from the building unfinished. Yeah? And they are not going to finish it because it is way too expensive. Yeah? Okay? Questions?
So right behind me is the tour group. The tour guide is very proactive on this one, hence I think the more expensive price. In my opinion, it is worth it, especially if you're coming here and you want to learn the history. This tour guide particularly was a very good storyteller. I'll put the link, but I find my tours through Get Your Guide on their app or their website, getyourguide.com. It's an awesome resource. I'm not sponsored by them, but hopefully I will work with them because they're a very awesome resource to use. And but the cool thing is on these day trips is most of them that I encountered, you can do your own thing. They'll just tell you a specific time that you have to go back to the bus. So I'm gonna continue ahead so I can show you a little bit more of the castle closer up before I go inside. Hey, Miss Love says, I'm getting Sound of Music vibes. Indeed, well, there's definitely a lot of Snow White vibes here. Hi, oh, sorry. All right. Yeah, wow, it's stunning to see this castle literally jut out from this mountain over here. Impressive how they dynamited the top of the mountain. They took away, I think, around 30 meters, which is a lot, especially for that back in time, and fairly quickly, because the ancient Romans did somewhat similar things in Rome, but it took them way longer. Hey, Hisami says, perfect music. Yeah, that was Twin Flames in the Snow from an Urbanist Christmas album. And right over here, we actually have grotesques as well. Look at that. Who are these faces? Are these characters from Wagner's works? Wow. So sometimes these metal bars are not purely decorative. They sometimes are actually functional. I'm not entirely sure if this one is functional, but this holds the walls together in a sense so they don't warp. That might be, yeah. I would speculate that this is actually functional metal bars that run through the length of the castle. I'm speculating, but I think in order to prevent warping of the stone, no stone won't warp as much as wood. They built that. So of course, these guys sometimes cheated. So it's not always fully built out of stone, especially since it's neo-medieval, built in the mid-1800s. I bet they used some other materials for the skeleton of this castle. Wow. Thomas says they locked him up. Yeah, they locked him up and he died shortly thereafter. Found drowned in a lake that was knee-high in depth. Wow, it's beautiful. I hear gunshots in the distance. I wonder if someone's hunting some type of fowl, maybe. And right here, we approach the castle. It's a pretty swift walk, not too bad, mostly downhill. Here are the castle grounds. Schloss Neuschwanstein. Hey, Paul says, Dan Krushenk, a BBC host, did a show on this. Oh, fascinating. Yeah, there's plenty of documentaries on this castle if someone wants to investigate later. Where are those gunshots coming from? Wow. down there. Hey DS, nice to see you here. Welcome. So this is also ski country during the wintertime. And we can see what appears to be a ski lift, maybe? I would speculate that it is a ski lift. Kind of looks like it. Or maybe lights for the ski slope. One of those two. Prulsley says, are they hunting? Yeah, I think they are. Are we Skyrim, says DS. Yeah, it feels like Skyrim. Skyrim, I gotta like walk with like a sword. I don't have a sword. Maybe I should. There's no sword here. Trying to pick up. That's how Skyrim looks like. No sword. And the jump that they do. That's my new Skyrim weapon, a water bottle. Hey Leilu says you have to visit Fusen next. Ooh, what's in Fusen? Who let me know? Paul says there's fox hunting grounds near me. It's awful. They need banning. Well, fascinating. Behold the castle walls. Wow, here's the entrance. Let's see how much we can see from here. Mika says confirms that is indeed ski lift. Thank you so much for confirming. All right, so people are waiting for their designated time. Mine's at 3:10. But here is the castle entrance, the grand entrance. But basically to no one, because the man did not invite anyone, not even his own family. His poor brother was institutionalized. He didn't even hang out with him. They were friends, but he didn't come over. He didn't invite him over. He didn't invite anyone. So all this castle just for a man to live on his own. And then the mountains are actually snow-capped because of the rain that you saw for the past 2 days as I was in Munich. Well, that rain was snow, and a lot of these mountains are about like 9,000 feet or so high. So I end up seeing snow again near the summertime. Let me know, would you live here in these beautiful views of the Bavarian mountains? And would you live in a castle like this? Literally almost all by yourself, aside from a few servants. Would you live in a castle like this on your own? Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Neuschwanstein. I'm going to go inside the castle soon and going to hopefully maybe film from the balcony if I can. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this. I'll be posting some short videos of the castle as well about it. So if you want to learn all the history I just mentioned in a more condensed format, watch my shorts on YouTube or on Instagram, Urbanist Live, or on TikTok, my name, Ariel Vera. They're also posted on Facebook. And show the woman, says Daryl. Daryl, what are you referring to? And how did you get here from Munich? A bus tour. Susan says it looks like Montana. Does Montana look like this? You know, I am so tempted to go further into the interior of the US because I heard that the US has epic landscapes like these. Issue is it's a bit harder to get to because I would require driving. So it's not as easy as it is here. Here, I'm like going by train. I'm not renting any car. I went by train to Munich. Munich, I'm not using any car. And I booked a organized day trip tour on the bus, very comfy bus, and I'm here. If I wanted to get here on my own, I probably would be able to get here by train. I might just have to stay in one of the nearby towns like Fusen, as someone mentioned, but still doable with no use of a car. That's the challenge with the US. It requires me to actually use a car, but I might do that at some point. Let me know, should I explore more of the interior of the US and see if it matches these European landscapes. Of course, there's no castles, but maybe the landscapes will match. And Dennis says, have a great day. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in from Neuschwanstein here in beautiful Bavaria. I hope you enjoyed it. Everyone, keep being awesome and always keep on exploring. As the Germans like to say casually, Tschüss, or a little bit more formally, Auf Wiedersehen. Have a good day.